Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining me for my mid-year housing review. I'm Kathy Fettke, co-CEO of Real Wealth Network. I feel like I have to announce myself because we have so many new members, and our investment counselors have been doing the weekly webinars, and I just want you to know I'm still here. I'll be doing these quarterly, basically updates on housing. It's been so dramatic, so fantastic. I'm excited to share this information with you, and I'll be doing it every quarter. And we're kind of talking about doing live events again. We don't have a date yet. We'd love to hear from you. You can put it in the chat box too, or in the question section if you would like us to resume live events, and if so, if you like the full day educational ones, or if you'd like us to fly out the different teams from around the country, or if you want us to host the events at the site of where the properties are. So maybe in Florida or Texas, Charlotte, Ohio, and kind of do events on location. So we're just wanting feedback. It's been really nice not traveling. So gearing up for that is, interesting, but we miss you and really look forward to seeing you all in person. I'm on camera now, just so you know that I'm alive and well, and here I am, but I would love to see you in person. And it sure seems like that is happening more than ever. A friend of mine sent a picture from the airport at LAX, and the line just completely covered the outdoor section. There was no room at all. So yeah, people are getting back out there. So I thought maybe we'll wait a little bit before we get on airplanes for the mania to settle as people, get back to normal life. So I'll start in just a minute because I see people are still joining us. And welcome. I'm excited again to give my 2021 mid-year housing review. I'm Kathy Fettke, co-CEO of Real Wealth Network, and I think we can get started. So I'm going to get off camera so you can see the slides better. Let's see if I can figure that out. There we go. All right. So here's the disclaimer. Y'all know very, very well now that I'll be giving my opinion. It's my opinion only. I do my best to predict the future, but that crystal ball isn't always accurate. So you need to do your own due diligence and just use the information I share with you to make up your own opinion. And once you have that, share it with your accountant and your tax advisor and your attorney to make sure it works for your specific situation. Because with real estate or any investment, when you buy or sell, there are most definitely going to be tax consequences, and those can be reduced or really increased if you don't do it right. So always make sure you speak with your tax advisor first. And of course, I'm going to be using some slides that show what's been happening in the past. Of course, trends are trends and they change, and that there's no guarantee of the future. And we know that, right? If there's something 2020 taught us, there is definitely no guarantee of the future. All right, real estate purchases are subject to investment risks. We all know that, including the possible loss of your investment, although that's a lot harder to do when you own rental property. While every effort is made to maintain accurate and current information, the possibility of errors and updates exist. So with that, let's go on to the good stuff. And this is it. Look at that V-shaped recovery. That is amazing. An overshoot. It's a check mark. It's better than a V. It's incredible. When we just look at this past year and the panic that we all felt in March of like, what is happening? And this drop. Those of us who survived 2008, we remember that drop, but boy, did it take a lot longer on the down and a lot longer on the up. It took almost 10 years to kind of bounce back after that drop. And look at just in 1 year, really less than that. You can see, housing kind of fell off a cliff. People were freaking out and panicking, and it was almost recovered by summer, and then overshot in the fall as people were like freaking out, not knowing if they could get real estate. So there was a frenzy as more and more people were buying and prices were going up and inventory was low. And of course, that always creates the perfect recipe of media headlines and people wanting more of it. So it started to settle, you know, and things are stabilizing. So that's the good news. So that brings me to wanting to really look at and review why you would want to own real estate. Listen, nobody just wants to go out and acquire things that you have to take care of. That's not the point. The point is to gain long-term wealth. And really, our Real Wealth Stories on the Real Wealth Show have been all about that. How do I create passive income streams so that I can be job optional, so that I can spend time the way I want to? And that is truly the benefit of real estate investing. So how do you get there? Well, these are the keys. This is what makes it so unique and so special, and why so many people are discovering it now and diving in. You can leverage, you can walk into a bank or call one of our mortgage brokers on our referral list and borrow 75 to 80% of the funds required to purchase a property. And if it's your primary residence, you only need 3.5% down, and sometimes even less. And that can happen also on investment property. So amazing. You know, you can't just walk into a bank and get 80%. You know, the banker's not going to say, oh, you have a new business, let me just fund 80% of that. It doesn't work that way. But with real estate, it does. It's like a no-brainer. They get an appraisal. Okay, the property's worth this, looks good, we'll do it. Because they understand what a stable investment it is and has been historically. So the bank gives you most of the money, you own it. You bring in tenants to pay that loan off for you. And then if you do it right, and if the market timing is good, you can get cash flow, which means that you're getting more income from your tenants than you're paying out in expenses. And that extra money either goes in your pocket and goes into reserves or into a savings account to buy more property. So cash, you borrow the money, someone else pays that loan off for you. There's extra money left over for building your wealth. And in that time, the property most likely and has over time appreciated. So as your tenants are paying down your loan, the value of the property is going up. And when that's happening, at the same time, you're creating massive equity over time. Again, over time. Of course, this past year, it was quick. But generally, it's, hey, you know, 3 to 5% increase in appreciation is pretty good if all you put down was 20%, right? It's incredible. You buy a $100,000 property. I just use that because it's easy. You know, you put $20,000 down, the property goes up 3%. You made $3,000 that year, but you only put $20,000 down. What if it appreciated 5%? Now, property goes up $5,000 and you only put $20,000 down. You just made, you know, a fifth of your money back in 1 year, 20%. That's pretty good. And that's not even including the pay down of the loan. And it's also not including tax benefits. We get incredible tax benefits from real estate. I add that as the fourth point because that can change. It hasn't for a long time. I mean, it changes a little bit, but in general, we are very much incentivized to buy income property. I don't know why. I guess because there's a great need for rental property, and if you provide that, you get a tax deduction. And that reduces your income tax and again increases that cash flow in your pocket that helps you be job optional. And then, I say that because retirement is not really our goal. A lot of us love our jobs. So it's not about not working. It's about working when you want to. That's why we call it job optional. And then asset protection through insurance policies and entities like LLCs that then land trusts that keep you fairly anonymous and protect you if need be. So let's take a look at all of these things that I said, all of these benefits of owning real estate. And where are we today? Well, we know that interest rates are at all-time lows. Sure, they tick up a little bit and down, but I mean, historically speaking, they are ridiculously low. So we get a green check mark there. Low interest rates, that's a good environment for investors. That means you're locking in 4% or whatever it is between 3.5% to 5% interest rates for 30 years. That's amazing. The same payment for 30 years, only in America. So great environment. We're in an environment of rising rents. Okay, green check mark for that. It's working for us. That increases cash flow because you got that fixed payment, but increasing rents. And then home price appreciation. How are we doing there? Fantastic. Look at that. Just that yellow section here is appreciation in just the last year. Definitely, it should be a bigger green check mark. Looking real good there. Again, if you own real estate. Top real estate investor tax deductions. You can deduct your mortgage interest, your insurance, your legal fees, your accounting fees. You can depreciate the property, which means you can, on paper, say it's losing value when in fact it's appreciating and gaining value. But I don't know, they let us do that. Repair costs you can write off. Bonus depreciation is in effect through 2022. And then there's the pass-through deduction from Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that gives you more deductions. You can deduct your travel in your home office. Now talk to your CPA. I'm not a CPA. I just hand everything over. I should say my husband, Rich, who's good at all that stuff, hands everything over to our CPA and they give us the deductions. So, don't take my word for it. Talk to your CPA to find out how you can reduce your tax bill through these deductions. So has that changed? Not much, even though there was a lot of fear about it. Big green check mark there. Now, there's been a lot of fear that there will be changes on Biden's real estate tax plan with the 1031 exchange and potentially other things. But remember, best laid plans still have to pass in Congress, and that hasn't happened yet. So we don't know if it will or when it will. But even so, the plan is to abolish the right to defer taxes on property gains over $500,000. Now, that may or may not be you, but I'm going to tell you that for most of us, if you own property in California, boy, you better be exchanging it now, because if you bought a property 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you probably made bigger than a $500,000 gain. So you might want to take care of that if you were planning on selling and exchanging, do it soon in case this passes. But if you're like me and most of our members that are buying properties between $150,000 and $300,000, they're probably not going to get a $500,000 gain. So most likely you won't be that much affected by this unless you have expensive property. So I'm going to say, all in all, it has been a perfect storm. And I was trying to find pictures of a perfect storm, and I thought, that's a weird saying. What's a perfect storm? There was like hard to find a picture of that. And then I found this one, and I thought, for surfers, we love storms. We love perfect storms. That's the kind of wave I'd be comfortable on. Perfect wave. That's what we've been writing. It's been good. Now the question is, and probably the reason you're listening right now, is you want to know what's next. Okay, what's the wave? Is there a wave behind this wave? Is it this? Or is there a bigger storm coming? One that personally I wouldn't want to be in. So let's take a look at it. One of the big things that people are concerned about is, well, this low interest rate environment is fueling the real estate market. So is that going to change? Well, Next Advisor came out with these interviews, and this is going to be recorded and you can read all this later. But basically these experts are saying, sure, interest rates are going to tick up, absolutely. But tick up is the word. And here you can see with Logan, I did a great interview with him on the Real Wealth Show. If you haven't heard that, you should. It was really exciting. He says it's going to be difficult to see it going up above 4% in the thick of the COVID-19 pandemic. And, we think we're out of it, but who knows? The headlines and variants and all this. So probably not going up much this year. And then Logan thinks we'll have all of our jobs back by the middle of next year. And when all the jobs are back, maybe then they'll start raising interest rates, but probably not till then. Lawrence Yun, chief economist of NAR, he thinks they'll be stable. Daniel Hell, chief economist at Realtor.com, sees low rates continuing for the first half of the year. She believes in the second half of 2021, the vaccines will help improve the economy. People are feeling more confident and that's when we could see them rise. But here she says mortgage rates could approach 3.4% by the end of the year. I mean, that's not much, right? So for the time being, and then here, Kiefer from Deputy Chief Economist with Freddie Mac, he probably knows a thing or two about rates. Maybe modestly higher at the end of the year, but pretty much flat over the next 12 months, all right? So green check mark there. We don't have to worry too much about interest rates going up much, just a little bit would be good. It would slow down the crazy, right? It's a little bit too robust. It's not healthy in that sense of prices going up too quickly. So this has been a big fear. Are we in a bubble? Is it going to burst? Nobody wants to experience this down that many of us went through in 2008. And that is still a fresh wound for many of us. So for years, people have been saying, oh my gosh, we're in a bubble again. There's this belief that if home prices go up, that means it's a bubble, without looking at any other factors like low interest rates, much lower interest rates than during this bubble, much better loans. I mean, there's so many reasons why home prices went up during this recovery. It was definitely a slow recovery. As you can see, very different than the one we just had. But there's this fear, oh my gosh, prices are so high. When is the bubble going to come out of it? When's the air going to come out of this bubble? So very good question. And let's take a look at this. It has been insane. Price appreciation by city. Look at Los Angeles. Over the past year, this is from Zonda. They do great updates. $150,000 gain on average. I mean, we're buying houses for that much. So if you owned a house in LA, you just made enough money to go buy a house with cash in one of the markets that we like at Real Wealth. Seattle, same thing. Look at that. Riverside, massive gains. I wish I'd bought 20 properties there. Oh well, hindsight, right? Sacramento, massive. And but in the markets that we are in, you look at Atlanta has gone up significantly. Dallas, Houston, Orlando, Tampa, Indianapolis. This is normally a flat market. And when you're talking $40,000 price appreciation in Indianapolis, that's huge. We were buying houses in Indianapolis for $40,000 10 years ago. Actually, to be honest, they were more like 30. So this is big. Jacksonville, $40,000. Charlotte, Minneapolis, just unprecedented growth. Price appreciation per day in some of these cities. This is why people are freaking out. In Los Angeles, if you don't buy it today, it's going to be $400 more tomorrow. And in 10 days, 4,000. So, people are frantic. They just don't want to keep paying more. And that's what we're seeing across the board, of course, a bit less than in some of these other markets, but still robust. And the entry-level pricing. This is really where Real Wealth Network investors play. We're in the entry-level, affordable markets. Wow. Again, why didn't we buy 20 or 200 homes in Sacramento? I don't know. We could have made 100,000 on each, but it didn't cash flow as well, and it was hard to get. But look at that. But then the markets that we are in, still, I'd rather be in Orlando with a $200,000 house that went up 17,000 or 17%. In Cincinnati, look at Cincinnati. Your little $150,000 home went up 17%. That Cincinnati doesn't know what's going on right now. They've never had this kind of appreciation. So you can imagine what real estate agents are scratching their heads like, what is happening here? And our teams are just trying to keep up with all this demand. Cleveland, 19%. Look at that. So fortunately, many of our members did buy 20 properties in Cleveland, and I'm sure they're really glad they did. And they bought 10, 20 properties in Cincinnati and Tampa and Atlanta and Houston. So congratulations to all of you who kind of jumped in during times of uncertainty. Just there's been so many opinions on real estate. Again, it's a deep wound that people still carry from 2008 with headline news, trying to get your attention with bad news all the time. I stopped listening. I just won't even turn on the news anymore. I'm sick of it because they lead with negative news. That's just what they do. I was in the business for so long. I know how it works. It's how you get attention. We pay attention to things that scare us. Anyway, congratulations to you for not listening to the naysayers. And some of them I've interviewed on the Real Well show. I'm not sure why I had them. I'm not having them back anymore. Some of these people who were like predicting crashes for the last 10 years. Not going to have them back. We're going to have the Logans of the world back because they look at data and really understand housing. All right, so this is the big headline that NAR came out with recently, that 5 million homes are needed today to keep up with demand. 5 million homes. The inventory of homes for sale was down 43% year over year at the end of May, representing 415,000 fewer homes for sale on a typical day in June. That's an improvement from the more than 50% declines in March, April, and May. And I think I've got a slide. Yeah, worst, this is Forbes, worst housing shortage ever, and will take a decade of record construction to fix it. All right, so again, if you listen to that interview with Logan, he said these naysayers were so scarred from 2008, and hey, it was a tough time, no doubt about it. Nobody wants to repeat it, but it's not the same market, and experts couldn't see that it was so different. And as a result, we weren't building. And that we're going to pay the price now. We're going to pay the price now. Real Wealth Network did jump in 2010 and started partnering with developers, syndicating and building homes. And it was a risk. No question about it. It has been a risk. And many of our investors took that risk. And it's been a challenge, no doubt. But I think we took the right bet, because right now there is just not enough housing. It says, to make up the shortage, the NAR report says the U.S. would have to build 2 million homes each year for a decade. We can't even get 1.5 million out. So I don't see that happening. So kind of going back to the question, will home prices go down? Not in this environment. Not in this environment. If you have supply-demand issues, you've got demand and not enough supply, it's very unlikely you're going to see prices go down, unless, again, I can't read the future. I don't want to predict any more viruses or wars or any bad things, but bad things could happen. It could change the trajectory. But based on what we're seeing now, there is so much demand, not enough supply, very unlikely that we would see prices go down. What about rents? There's all this talk about the eviction moratorium, and there's going to be millions of people who can't pay their rent and so forth. What we're seeing is the opposite. We're seeing rent growth across the board. In fact, the highest rent growth ever. The average monthly rent in June hit $1,513, surpassing $1,500 for the first time ever. So record high rents. In the environment that I just said, if there's not enough supply, that affects renters and home buyers. It's across the board. There just is not enough supply. So cash flows. Well, cash flows decrease, and this has been our concern. We've been watching it closely. As prices go up, that generally lowers the cap rate, lowers the cash flow. So we've been watching this, and actually, it's kind of going up here. It fluctuates, but we're seeing a slight decline, obviously, since 2015 and 2014. We were getting double-digit returns. I mean, those were the good old days. But we're back to normal, which is around a 6% to 8% return, depending on your leverage and what area you're in and so forth, and the market. There's cash flow markets and growth markets. This is the National Multifamily Housing Council Rent Tracker. And, we were so scared back in March, right, of 2020 that people weren't going to be able to pay their rent. Look at this. It's more people were paying their rent. Nobody wanted to get booted and be on the street or go look for a new place to live when there was this deadly virus, invisible enemy, so to speak. I don't know why I just said that, but it was scary. It was scary. So people weren't moving, and just look at these rent collections. So here we are in June, not much different than last year, not much different than before the pandemic. So rent collection has been good. So will that change? If it didn't change during the heat of the virus, I don't see it changing, again, for the reasons I mentioned before. Multifamily occupancy is at a 10-year high. We did not expect this. I was really off. I will admit my error. I really thought multifamily was going to get hammered. I thought everybody was going to leave apartments and move into single family homes. Well, you know, not everyone can do that. So I really thought that we were going to see a crash in multifamily, and that not happening. Absorption of apartment units soar at all-time highs in 138 markets. Incredible. So areas with the highest rent growth, this is from the National Association of Realtors. Look at that, look at that. Tampa, one of our favorite markets. We just love that team there. And second, Tampa gets it twice. Port St. Lucie is really kind of the main area in Tampa where our team finds properties. They're finding it all over the place. St. Petersburg, our team, actually, he lives there. David lives there, and it's the cutest town, and we did an event there. And David was like, you should buy all these lots, just buy them all. And they were like $5,000 or something. And David, I don't know if you're on this, but why didn't we do that? I don't know why we didn't do that. 20% growth in 1 year. Incredible, incredible. So our Tampa team wins this round. But then Southwest Florida, look at that. And Phoenix and Boise, Austin, Asheville, Jacksonville. Jacksonville's up 16%. Atlanta, 16%. I mean, just this is unprecedented for these areas. It's crazy. Now on a little bit less, but still growing, Dallas, because there's more. Dallas is one of the areas where they have the most permits, most new construction. Houston as well. So we're kind of seeing a little bit slower growth, but still great. I mean, still incredible, unprecedented. So do we think that we'll see a slowdown in rent growth? I hope so, because this is not very sustainable. It's really wonderful if you're a landlord and you own property. It's really terrible if you're trying to rent. You know, so this is unsustainable. We can't see rents go up 20%. I hope it slows down. But given the things that we have seen, that the lack of supply and the high demand, I don't know how much it will slow down. Especially when you've got all these high-paying people being able to move from high-priced cities to those places. All right, rental growth equals cash flow, right? The more the rents go up, the more money real estate investors make. They're on that fixed mortgage, hopefully on a fixed rate mortgage. So when rents go up, so does cash flow. So again, leaders for annual rent growth is Phoenix, Riverside, Las Vegas, Sacramento, Tampa, Jacksonville, Atlanta, West Palm Beach, Salt Lake, all areas we've been excited about. And these are areas that we all know have been hit pretty hard. They were so overpriced to begin with. A lot of these tech people were able to move out and actually live in an affordable place. And so San Francisco got hit pretty hard. New York, San Jose, Seattle, Washington, Oakland, Boston. But these cities are, let's see, I've got cities, they're coming back. They're having a comeback. So they got hit hard. They were really shut down hard during the heat of the pandemic. But they're coming back, and you're going to see these kind of charts, because as cities, there's not a whole lot of reason to live in a tiny apartment in a big city when there's nothing to do. When you walk outside and all restaurants are closed and all stores are closed and all shows are closed and all bars are closed, you're going to go live somewhere where you can have a backyard barbecue or something, right? And a pool. You can't even use the pools in those apartments, but that's changing. People are going to go back to the cities for the reasons that they lived in them before. Because there's stuff to do, and that stuff is coming back. So rents will come back too. But in the meantime, the single family rental market is gaining rental share. And this is from John Burns Real Estate Consulting. And you can see it just keeps going up. This purple one is single family rents. Keeps going up in all age groups. And then those who own kind of staying flat with the younger folks, a little bit higher with the age 35 to 44, and still a lot of homeowners 45 to 54. But yep, Multifamily is the orange there. Still strong. Single family renter household by age cohort. You can see a lot of young people, 25 to 34, are maybe not necessarily buying, but renting. And they're buying too. It's a huge group of people, and a huge group in the 35 to 44. And there you go. So do you remember the headline that there's going to be like 5 million foreclosures or something like that? Yeah, that's not going to happen. 77% of homeowners in forbearance exit with a loss mitigation repayment plan in place. So not only are there a lot of wounds from 2008, but there's a lot of people who are thinking, wow, I missed out on that. I want my foreclosure. I didn't get to have one back then. I want to buy one. And I think that was part of it, is this eagerness to get cheap real estate. So that's why, people are like, I'm just going to sit on the sideline and wait till prices go down. And that hasn't worked out at all for those people. So again, congratulations to those of you who jumped in spite of those ridiculous headlines saying that there would be 5 million foreclosures. I mean, you had to think logically in 2020, when the government was absolutely doing everything in its power to stop a recession from happening, they're going to just let 5 million people go into foreclosure, who weren't allowed to go to work. They wanted to work and weren't allowed to even leave their house. I mean, no, that was never going to happen. They were going to be forgiven. They were going to have a restructuring of their loan. That was obvious. So that's what happened. So some had 27% had a loan deferral. Now think about it. For one entire year, there are 27% of those in forbearance who didn't pay their mortgage. It's just being deferred. What do you think they did with that extra money? Well, this is why the savings rate is so high. People are in better financial shape than they've ever been in, because those mortgage payments didn't have to be paid, and there was really no downside to it. They just had to pay it later. And in some cases, they were also collecting unemployment. So again, some people have a better financial statement than they've ever had, paying off debt and saving money. And then 24% just continued making their payments, even if they were in forbearance. So, they were just preparing. And then 15% did not make all of their monthly payments, and they exited with a loss mitigation plan in place. 13% were reinstated, in which past due amounts are paid back when exiting. And then 10% were in loan modifications, loans paid through either a refinance or by selling. So some people just said, the heck with this, I'm selling, going to take my equity and run. And then there's a tiny percentage that's in trouble. So let's look at that tiny percentage of 1.5%, that's 400,000 without a loss mitigation plan. Okay, that is a lot different than 5 million. Okay, so those forecasters were either awful, or just some newscasters wanted to really scare the bejeebers out of people and get eyeballs to watch the news so they can sell advertising or whatever they're doing over there. Let's take a look at this. In scenario 1, all those people just decide, you know what, I can't pay this. I went a year without making my mortgage. I don't like this house. I'm going to sell it. Are they going to sit there and say, I could sell it and take all my equity in this crazy inventory starved market, or I could just sit here and wait for the bank to take the equity from me? No, they're going to put it on the market. And so if they all did that, all that would do was increase the supply of inventory by 25 days. Okay, nothing. In scenario 2, a third of them say, okay, I'm going to put my home on the market. That would be 8 days increase. And 2/3 would be 17 days. So you see, it's going to be barely felt. Now, I'll be super honest. I thought that our property teams were going to have more inventory for our members because of those who ended up in the not being able to pull out of the forbearance. But it's going to be pretty minimal. So they're struggling to find you property. So be very, very good to our property teams. It's tough for them. All right, median single family home price to income. This is what I was talking about. U.S. homeowner equity surges to nearly $23 trillion as the value of the housing stock tops $33 trillion. Okay, so this person's late on their mortgage. They're just going to walk away from all this equity? No, 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 no. They're not. They're going to find a real estate agent and they're going to sell their house and they're going to pay those past payments back when they sell and they're going to take the rest with them. All right. And those who are buying properties, first-time homes or investment property, look at these FICO scores. Okay, if you think we're in a bubble, then you've got to understand this is not a bubble. These are people, repeat buyers with 740 FICO scores, and first-time home buyers over 700. Remember, back in 2005, I was a mortgage broker back then. You didn't have to have any credit. You could be at 500. You could be at 6. You could have just not paid anything on time, or just, all kinds of garbage on your credit report and still get a loan. These were not great borrowers, and they couldn't afford the home to begin with. That is not the case here. People are they have to qualify. They have to show that they have a down payment, that they have plenty of reserves, that they have great credit. 700 scores, that's incredible. And average back-end debt to income, first-time home buyer, it's coming down. It's coming down, and the repeat buyer as well. So they're lower debt, high credit, they're paying their bills. These aren't people who somehow snuck into these homes. And someone made a really great point the other day that people are definitely overpaying for property. Some people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking price. And people say, oh my gosh, it's a bubble. That's not a bubble. That's just somebody who really, really wanted that house. You don't have to worry about that person because that person had the means to pay more than the house is worth with cash. So they're not sitting on some kind of crazy loan, right? The bank's only going to loan what the bank wants, it feels is right, and what has decent comps. And if the price comes above that, the buyer pays the difference, and that's cash. That's not a bubble, right? Okay, high FICOs. Look at this, mortgage originations by credit score. And again, just the blue is 760, just incredible strong borrowers out there. So again, the big headlines you're going to see is that prices are so high that it's pricing people out. And that is true. The median single family home price compared to income has just gone way up in this past year. And it's not healthy. It would be better if interest rates went up a little bit and this frenzy slowed down a little bit, because it is, again, unsustainable. But this is what people look at and they say, oh my gosh, the incomes have not gone up as quickly as the home prices. That's true. But look at this, mortgage debt to income. This is what matters more, the debt compared to income. Look at it, way down, way down. Why would that be? That's interest rates. Back here, interest rates were high, right? Much higher, and maybe double. So you can buy a lot more house when the interest rate is half, right? And that's where we are. So even though the home prices are up, the payment is affordable. It has to be affordable. They wouldn't be able to get the loan if they couldn't afford it. That's how it is today. You have to prove you can afford it. So what is going on? Where did all this demand come from, right? What in the world is happening? Okay. Well, again, if you listen to that show with Logan from Housing Wire, this is what's happening. I've showed you this slide a lot, and it just is fun to look at, right? This is the largest group of the millennials. There's 82 million of them. We know they have been the largest generation. Baby boomer kids, the baby boomers were the biggest, and then they had all these kids, and these kids are now coming of age, and the largest group of them is 29 right in here. Okay, so the first-time home buyer age is 31. So we've got this huge wave of young people forming families, huge salaries, and they're able to work anywhere. The millennials are the highest educated ever. They're the most educated group or generation ever. They have the highest number of college degrees. They also have a lot of debt to go with it, but they have college degrees. And they have, if they don't even have a college degree, they have the equivalent in their pocket, right? All they have to do is pull out their phone and get the answer to almost anything, if you can sift through all the information. So they have information literally at the palm of their hands. So they are very educated. They have access to a ton of information. They can pick up a new app and understand it in a minute. I sit and stare at it and don't know what to click on, and they know. These are really, they've been raised in a technology world, and they're great to hire for technology. Our company has lots of brilliant millennials, and we love them. They're so smart. And for 10 years, we've been saying, live wherever you want. We don't care. Just bring your talent, just from wherever you are. So we've been a remote company for 10 years. They can work from anywhere at any hour they want. If they want to work at midnight, that's okay. Just they get the job done. So this is what we're looking at, is a massive group of highly educated, brilliant people with technology skills just becoming of age, of house buying age, over the next 3 years. Highly paid, who can live anywhere. So demographics are shifting. And if you make $100,000 or $150,000 or $200,000, it's not going to get you very far in San Francisco or New York. But boy, oh boy, can you live a life of luxury in another city. And that's what many are doing. Okay, and then look what's behind them. Gen Z. So I've got a millennial and a Gen Z, and they're literally two different generations. They have different political beliefs. They're totally different. The generations changed faster these days. So obviously millennials are these younger ones are still living in apartments, but many of these older ones are the next buyers. Then you've got all these renters coming. There's lots of them, 86 million, obviously not the younger ones, but starting here, and a whole bunch of them behind. So we got renters, we got buyers. That's the demand. And of course, we know that the Federal Reserve and the US government went all out on saving us from a massive recession a year ago. And lots of money, trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars was created and put into the economy to circulate. So when you've got all that money circulating, it finds its way into real estate and stocks. When I think about it, a lot of these people who got stimulus checks, or they got the extra payments, they're investing in stocks, and they're buying real estate. If you won the lottery, you're going to do a lot of fun things, but then you're going to buy real estate. Everybody knows that. That's what you're going to do, and that's what people are doing. So it finds its way into investments like that, and that is what we're seeing. So lots of money floating around, and it's chasing real estate. So will there be inflation? Of course there will. Lots of money chasing something that has limited supply and has been really, really hard to bring on new supply. Absolutely, we're going to see inflation in all things, but definitely in housing. And I just want to go back to that slide. It's nothing new, right? Inflation is a way of life. When my first mentor in real estate said, okay, how much do you need to live on? All right, I told him the amount back then. It was a lot less back then. And he's like, okay, now triple that. And that's what you're going to need to live on when you retire. I was like, oh, that's impossible. How can I ever achieve that? I can't achieve that. How can I literally make enough money and save enough money to be able to triple what I make now in passive income? Like, there's no way. The only way to do it is if you can purchase assets that also inflate. And that's what real estate does for you, because every 10 to 15 years, things double in price. It's just, that's inflation. That's nothing new. It's potentially going to be even more intense because of all the money circulating but it is nothing new, and we've had to prepare for this for years, ever since you can see 1971 when inflation really took off. And we've had to prepare somehow, and this is really the problem that people face today. How are you going to how are you going to retire and have enough passive income? That's three times what you make right now. It's like impossible. Nobody can be that good in their investing unless you buy assets that inflate along with it. Unfortunately, we've seen that in real estate. And we know that more, potentially more money is coming to be printed with the infrastructure, and it's just become the new normal. The government loves to print money. All right, so we're seeing this across the board. The cost to build has increased substantially. So these houses that we've been buying, it's just it costs so much more to build them, so much more between labor and materials and permit fees and everything. It's such a hard business to be in. We're in that business. Our Park City properties, we were ready, got all the permits in place. It's taken 10 years to get there. And just when we were ready to break ground, there was no lumber, like not even, like we'll pay whatever we have to pay, but we couldn't get it. And we got lucky where another builder had a delay on their permitting, and they had all the lumber. So we got it from them, and we're, underway. But these are the kinds of challenges that builders are facing. So to think that housing prices are going to go down in a scenario like this where everything is more expensive, not going to happen. So we have to look at all this and say, where will prices be in 10 years, in 20 years? This is real estate investing, at least the way we do it at Real Wealth, is a long-term play. It is not an overnight success, although many of you have felt like overnight successes this past year because you made a lot of money on your real estate. I get that, but where will it be in 10 years and 20 years? If you're buying in the right markets, it could really go up a lot. If you look at this, 20 years ago, the median price was $187,000. It's doubled. So 20 years from now, if we're at 360, it could be, the median price could be 700, right? So that is one way to be able to retire, with knowing that your cost of living is going to be 3 times what it is today, or 2 times, depending on your age. Your real estate will help you with that. So economic risks, well, I'll just start with one. We cannot read the future. We don't know what's coming. We know climate change isn't going to be an issue. We know that this whole virus thing, we don't, is that going to happen again? War is going to happen. We don't know. We don't know. But what we do know is most likely the divide between the wealthy and the poor will grow. And that is really sad. And as inflation ticks away, people who are in entry-level jobs are going to have such a hard time keeping up as everything gets more expensive. And I really hope that we can get the message out there that do whatever you can to buy your first house. It's 3% down. Buy it, get it, rent rooms out, do whatever you can. Get a fourplex. You only have to put 3% down with an FHA loan on a fourplex. I think I said before, my gardener's son, who started working with his dad when he was 14, he's a sweet guy, and we talk to him all the time, and he read my book, and he's 18 now, and he's saving every penny to buy a house for his family because his parents, never did and didn't know how. So he's learning everything he can and saving every penny to help his family and to be able to get that first house, which he's very close to doing, and he's only 18. So, get the message out there, whatever it takes, get that first house, and that will help seed the next one. You can refi that, use that cash, buy the next one, buy a house a year if you can. Because we know asset values will rise, rents will rise, interest rates will eventually rise. And it's going to be harder and harder to get in. And that's why we're on a mission to help as many people as we can create real wealth. And our teams are just so amazing. There's 15 of them. They work their tails off to find properties for you where the numbers work. I mean, they could they could find cheaper properties that are going to be just have nothing but issues and need repair, and they pass on those because they have to be able to fix them up and get them in the kind of condition we want them in. So so they're working on building brand new. I mean, they're doing whatever they can to try to meet the needs and the demand of Real Wealth Network, and they really make us a priority. So again, be good to our teams. They're trying really hard to work in this difficult environment for you. All right. So, and these are the areas that we're in. Actually, Albuquerque no longer on the list, but Atlanta, Birmingham, Charlotte, Chicago, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Columbus. We don't really have a team right now, but that is a good market. I'm hoping we will. Dallas, Detroit, I'm not sure if we're still in that market right now. Houston, not right now. There's a lot of construction happening. It's probably has the most construction in the country. So we just kind of think that maybe there's other markets where you're going to see more of an uptick because they don't have as much construction. Huntsville, hard to get inventory there. Indianapolis, same thing. I mean, that's hard everywhere. Jacksonville, our team there is really working on buying land and building and being able to provide inventory that way. Same with Orlando, same with Tampa. And these are the markets we're in, and we're always trying to find new markets and teams in those markets. These are the ones that we're in right now. Okay, so I'll go to questions. Hey, Gary Messeri's on. He is my first mentor. And if you read my book, you'll read about him, and he's here. Hi, Gary. Thank you. Thank you for all you taught me, and now that we're able to teach others. Someone said, I love the online event. I love the online events. Oh, cool. Hey, listen, if you guys like the online events, we'll keep doing those. It's a lot easier. All right, I survived COVID Christmas party, December 2021 in San Mateo. Ah, yes. I like that. A Christmas party. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. I think we're thinking January. That's usually our big one too. I miss going to the different locations. I'd love to go to I like that, to go to the different locations. Yeah, we were thinking about maybe the January one being in Florida, so y'all can get out there and see what's going on in Florida. It is very, very, very much booming there. Kathy, where am I investing? I like Salt Lake City, but those are really higher priced. I'm hoping to be able to buy a few more in Florida. I still love Ohio. I love that you can still get amazing cash flow, and it's experiencing appreciation as well, I think, because there's just not a lot of builders there. But all the markets we're in, I really, really love our teams there. Tax benefits. Talk to your CPA about tax benefits. It says, I thought it doesn't offset W-2 income. Yeah, just talk to it depends on your situation. Same with bonus depreciation and reduction. Talk to your CPA. If you don't have a CPA who understands these things, then you need a new one. Oh, audio quality not good. I'm sorry. I wonder why. All right. How can we get inventory for some of these appreciating markets? All RWN suppliers are backed up. I know it's very frustrating, but Tim is doing everything he can, and we have the marketplace now that will show which properties are available now. Seeing how quickly people go back to normal, big get-together parties, do you think return to office will see the same pattern and work from home will not be that much desirable? There have been interviews with major corporations, and I think a lot of companies have adjusted, just kind of like we've been doing it for a long time, but we were doing events every single month, and those events were pretty expensive. And all of a sudden we went online, and completely, we were always doing webinars, but I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to run around the country as much, and we can still communicate and be in touch just online, and it's saving lots of money. So I think a lot of corporations are have learned that they can be just as efficient, if not more, with their online services. So the interviews recently have shown that more and more companies are going to keep many of the practices that they've adopted in place, and maybe people won't have to come into the office as much, or they'll want to be living nearby. So the suburbs, the outerlying areas near those offices are growing because people maybe have to come into the office once a week. Some businesses will go back to being in the office every day, but I think another thing we learned is people in the past, you'd take some Sudafed and you'd go to work just sick as a dog, right? That wasn't good, because then everybody else ended up sick. I think that's another thing that offices learned, is that maybe people aren't getting sick as much with the flu and other things if they just stay home and work, especially if they're sick. So I do think we'll see more work from home. That was a trend happening anyway. What about crime in those cities? There's crime in every city. In all of those cities that we showed, we are in the suburbs. We are in B class, for the most part, neighborhoods that have low crime. But sure, every city has crime, and we stay away from those neighborhoods. Thank you to RWN for educating us. We're grateful. Thank you. New construction prices went up a lot due to lumber price increase. Now lumber prices are going down. Will we see a drop? Lumber prices are going down, but not for builders yet. And that's really, really frustrating. Plus, it's not just lumber anymore, it's everything. And on many of our properties, we cannot get our CO and sign off, and the buyer can't close until everything's done. And sometimes we can't even get the appliances, or we get the appliances and one little piece is missing that is on back order for 2 months, and they won't let us close. So it's really hard right now to get everything we need, and just materials in general are on back order and are more expensive. So no, I don't think that there'll be a drop. I really don't in new home prices. Let's see, thoughts on San Antonio. I love San Antonio. We just don't really have a team there. But now Leah, our investment counselor, is living there, so maybe she'll find us a great team in San Antonio. And Nashville, yep, I love Nashville too. These are just markets that Nashville's been very expensive. We used to be in that market in 2005 or 6 when it was a lot cheaper, but we will definitely see if we can find some inventory there. Let's see. Thank you. What do you think might happen if there's a second COVID surge? I don't even want to think about it. And I have my own opinions that there's going to be at least 50% of the people listening who are going to disagree no matter what I say. But I don't know. I think what we've learned is it's possible. We live in a world where, if it was created in a lab, boy, could that happen again with some crazy person just creating a virus? I don't know. I think we've all come to the awareness that this is a possibility, that it could happen again. And that's why I think one of the reasons why people are really wanting to have a nice home, that if it comes down to it again, that they're going to be comfortable in this new normal. So, but yeah, I don't know. I won't even talk about that. Everyone's got their opinion. Are there properties in Dallas? Yeah, usually our team there has access, not in Dallas particularly, but she's really good at finding the areas that are spreading out, where there's migration patterns. Someone said, do you advise me to invest in real estate if I'm 60? It really depends. I'm not 60 yet, but I'm still buying because I plan to live a long time. And I do believe that, you've got tenants paying down your mortgage, you've got values going up, but especially if you're able to take a property, say in a high price market, say you're 60 and you have a property that you own in San Francisco that you could sell and take all of that equity and buy several cash flow properties somewhere else, you might find that you have a lot more money to retire on by doing that simple move. Are we involved in partial 1031 exchanges? I would talk to our 1031 resources on our resources page at Real Wealth. There's, let me see if I go back up to that last one. Go here and you'll see investor resources, and just click on any of these And it's a list of people that that just are really highly recommended by our members. So anyone on that 1031 page is going to have a lot of experience and be able to answer your question. Are your teams ever involved in, no, wait, no, I already did that. Love the online events. Oh, good. Okay, we'll keep doing that. Do you have turnkey in Jacksonville? Some. It's hard to get, but they do have some. Do you think prices for new construction homes will come down? Nope, I already answered that. I really don't think so. I think they might slow down in growth, because once it hits a ceiling and people can't afford it, it has to. But I know from our experience as builders, we're not going to sell these homes at a loss. So we'll just not build them if rather than sell them at a loss. So instead we've been raising them by $100,000 almost every few months, and people are buying them. So no, I don't see new home prices coming down. But every market's different. Every market's different, right? Some markets are hotter than others. Finding small homes on large lots and doing additions is still winning. Yeah, you can do ADUs and have a rental property on your property. Someone said, love the program, just got approved, looking now in Cincinnati. Oh, I know, huge long wait list there and not a lot of inventory, but she's working hard for you. And she's really good about sticking with the wait list. A good site for looking at crime rates, I look at city-data.com. Does it make sense to do a 1031 exchange on turnkey properties purchased 5 to 6 years ago? It just depends on the property. If you made a bunch of money on a property and the value of the property is much higher than the rent you're getting, then it could definitely make sense. Or you could just refi into a lower rate, take the cash out, and go buy a few more. Is Phoenix too expensive? I think so, but there might be some outerlying areas that still work. We do have a team in Detroit we've been working with. They had some issues with property management, and I'm not sure where that stands right now. So just talk to your investment counselor about that. Fresno is a great market. We just aren't very fond of the landlord laws in California, so we haven't pursued it for our members. But Fresno, yeah, I think it's one of the last few places where you can get a good deal. Riverside, Fresno, Bakersfield, all pretty good. Okay. Let's see. Someone said, I'm 71 and I'm still buying. Yeah. That's the thing is people live a long time. So let's just say you're 71 and, you fast forward to being 81. Now you got 10 years that you've been paying down your loan and values have most likely gone up and rents have gone up and you're cash flowing. So yeah, what now, fast forward to 95. Now you've paid off 20 years of the loan and imagine what the rents will be at that point. So yeah, great. Will I ever stop investing? Probably not. Not a question, but we purchased a rental property with one of our WM partners early this year for the first time, and it's been a great experience. I'm so glad to hear that. I didn't know you built homes and sold them to us. We don't. We build homes. We syndicated. So we, raised money through our, Real Wealth Network, and together we purchased land and built, and we sell those retail. They're just too expensive to be rentals, but they're in Reno, starting around, I don't know, 800,000. In Carson City, they're more like 400, but not great for rentals. And there's like a massive wait list anyway. And in Park City, they start at 900,000. So again, just there, we don't sell them as rentals, but the investors make a 15% preferred return. How do you determine A, B, and C properties? Are they the same in all markets? That's a really good question. I'll just very quickly say A tends to be very high end, more expensive, less cash flow, newer. B tends to be more middle class, maybe 10, 20 years old, and still low crime. C class is more working class and older, usually, or older properties, maybe over 30 years old. And then C minus D would be a bit higher crime, and D would be high crime. That's tends to be how people look at it. What about international cities? Oh, I would love to invest internationally, but I don't really understand it, and we're busy enough here in the US. Do we see capital gain tax going up in the next year? Probably, if I had to bet on it, yes, but it does take a long time for things to get done right in Congress. Do I like Boise? I do like Boise, but it's expensive. So we invested there in 2005, and it was a lot cheaper then. But maybe the outskirts, or if you can find an older property and fix it up, it could work. It didn't have very big employment base when we went up there 10 years ago, so it actually was hard. It didn't work very well for us. There was only like 2 or 3 major employers, but that may have changed. With the new Freddie Fannie guidelines, investor loans have gotten more expensive. I know it stinks, but it's still pretty good. It's still better than when I started. When I started, it was like 7-8%. So I still look at everything today as cheap. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining me here. It's great to connect. I'll come back on there. Yeah, so great to kind of see you again. And I think you all know that you can go to Real Wealth Network and talk to your investment counselor, and they really know that we've got a lot of big changes coming with the marketplace, where you can go online and look at available properties there. It's really cool, really high tech. We are really growing our syndication department, so we hope to do more rental funds in the future and more syndications, hopefully apartments. And we've got one of our teams who will be heading that up. We're really excited about that. So lots of opportunity. We've got all of our teams, well, not all of them, but most of them coming out to California next week, and we're going to brainstorm ways to find you more inventory and better serve our members. We're going to do a three-day mastermind next week, so super excited about that. Why do I like Salt Lake City? Oh, it's the fastest growing place in the country, and actually ended up with more jobs during COVID than before. So just really strong job market and population growth. But it is expensive. All right, take care everyone. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.